Hey everybody, welcome to Sid's Little Corner of the Internet. We've got another Transformers review coming your way. This time around, we're going to be taking a look at the Transformers Legacy Evolution Dinobot Combiner Volcanicus. So this guy consists of 6 core class Dinobots. I've got the boxes in order here. I know this one's kind of difficult to see back here. I'm using my patented pointer. But this is Sludge back here. I have them in order 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you've got Sludge, Slug, Grimlock, Scarr, who's the new arrival, at least for me, the Ankylosaur, Swoop, and Snarl over here. So those are the 6 Dinobots that you use to make Volcanicus here. And the boxes are all the same except for the artwork, so I'm just going to grab the closest one here just so we can take a look at that real quick. So you've got that Snarl artwork right up there. If he would focus on Snarl, please. There you go, thank you. So you've got that artwork, Legacy Evolution, Transformers, down here, Dinobot Snarl. Over here you've got a little bit of artwork. Back here you've got product shots and the warnings. The baby is sad because the only thing that scares the baby more than a dinosaur is 6 dinosaurs. So you have that. You've got all your warnings. Over here you have Snarl's artwork. Again, pick your individual. That's what you're going to see on the box. And then down low you have your information. So that's it as far as the boxes go. We're going to go ahead and get those boxes out of the way now. And we'll start taking a deep dive here into Volcanicus. Here he is, that core class combiner we've been waiting to see. This is that Dinobot Volcanicus. Now, in this review, I'm not going to do a what's in the box segment because, well, this guy's a combiner, so I would have to talk about what's in 6 boxes. Let me just break it down for you real briefly here. Each of these figures comes with 1 or 2 small accessories. There's nothing amazing, nothing great about them. A couple of the guys, Swoop and Scarr over here, come with the hands, and then Snarl down here, he comes with the sword. It's kind of cool. And other than that, I mean, everything's just kind of basic. So nothing really to cover there. Additionally, we're not going to do transformation. We're not going to show how to combine these guys because he's simple enough. It's pretty straightforward. We're just going to go over the details, the articulation, and really my overall thoughts on this guy. So let's go ahead and bring him in, and we'll start and take a look at that head. So you can see he's got a nice Volcanicus head going on there. And this is a very busy figure. Again, because he is a combiner, there's just a lot of facets, a lot of different styles going on here. So I do want to take a little bit of time just to go over all of that. So you do have a couple of add-on pieces where he's a bit of a parts former. So you've got this piece right here. That's a part of the parts former action there. And then coming on down to that lower body, really all you're seeing right here is the lower part of Sludge. So this area right here is all Sludge. And then coming down, you have Grimlock over here, you have Snarl over here. Of course, Slug makes up that chest area. And then taking a look at him from the side here, just so you can get an idea of what you're working with. He's a big boy, he's thick, not very tall, but he is thick. So he's got a lot going on there, and of course you can see part of the way that Grimlock folds up, and then of course we'll see how Snarl folds up on the other side as well. But yeah, let's go ahead and take a look at Scarr in his arm mode. So you've got all that going on, and then you have those fists. Those fists just pin in. They're not built into any of the figures, so they are just loose. This is one complete fist over here on Swoop. These are 2 pieces that actually make Swoop's guns. So when you have Swoop on his own, you've got a couple of guns there. And then taking a look at him from the back, you can see you've got a little bit of Sludge there, a little bit of Slug there. Of course, Grimlock, Snarl, Swoop, and Scarr right there, making all that up. He sits a little crooked. I've checked it more than once, and I just can't seem to get these 2 feet to even out. So if you have him like that, they're pretty level, but once you start spreading to try to get any kind of normal, realistic looking pose, they get all crooked on you. But kudos to the design team for at least getting that close with a core class combiner. So details I think on this guy are pretty good. I did gloss over the fact that we turned him around. So again, taking a look there. from behind, not too bad. You do get that triple shot of dinosaur heads. So, you know, you do have the dinosaur head triangle right there. But yeah, he's not awful as far as that goes. He is a combiner, so there's going to be a hodgepodge of a lot of different things going on. So here he is from the right side, where you can see Swoop and Snarl over here, whereas the other side was Scarr and Grimlock. And then as far as the articulation goes, it's not awful. You just have to be careful because he wants to fall apart on you a little bit. So you have your point of rotation for your shoulder right here. So you can move that around. Just be careful not to hit things. And then you've got a pivot point right here for your shoulder to go up and down. And then you get into the really dicey areas of you have a waist right here that is kind of a bicep rotation, but then that starts whacking everything else out of the way. And then you have an elbow bend right there, so you can bring those fists up. Again, he's so bulky, and he's going to run into himself a lot. They did a fine job with what they had to work with, I suppose, but you know, you're still going to be limited. This arm over here with Swoop is going to be real similar, so you've got that. You've got a point of rotation there. You have a bicep, or a point of rotation just above the bicep right there, and then you have your elbow right there, so you can move all that. Again, just be careful. You're going to knock stuff out of whack if you're not careful. You do have waist rotation on Volcanicus, so that's just Sludge's waist that you're moving right there. Essentially, the lower body is going to be Sludge articulation. So down here, if I move these arms out of the way, you've got your Sludge hips here, so you're going to be able to bring those up a little bit. You're not going to be able to go all the way with them, but what else are you going to do with this guy anyway? You'll notice I keep knocking Grimlock's head and that section around. And then forward kick, you have, as long as you don't run into things, you've got that much. Back kick, you have that much. And then you do have a knee bend. So from the back, you can get a little bit better view. So you've got some action right here where you can bend that knee. And then if you don't knock the front of Snarl out, you can get that much of a knee bend. This is just a Snarl's back piece that just tabs on to his arms right there. So nothing broke. It just likes to fall off on my copy. And then you have rotation at that knee, of course, because this is where they combine. So as a point of example, just pull that apart. So there you go. This is Sludge, this is Grimlock, and that's where they combine. Stick it in there and you're good to go. And then you can double it with a little bit of thigh rotation that you can borrow from Sludge right up there as well. So there you go. This, I'm going to try to put it back on, but we'll see. Just line that up. There we go. Stay on. Yeah, so there you go. That is pretty much the articulation on this guy. What you see is what you get. All of the accessories that these guys come with get consumed in some fashion within this figure. So yeah, that's really all there is to talk about as far as the details and the articulation goes. There's no accessories really to talk about. I think overall looks on this guy, he looks pretty cool, especially considering the fact that he's a core class. I think he pulls it off fairly well. I still feel like he's a little difficult to play with, a little difficult to pose from an articulation standpoint, but you do have some articulation there. You've got nothing in the feet. Once these guys are formed down here, you're not going to find ankle tilt or heel or toe action or anything like that. So all of your articulation ends at the knees on this figure. It's not the worst thing in the world, but it is what it is. He does have some hollow areas that annoy me. So if you look in here, he's a little hollow. If you look in here, he's a little hollow. Looks a little cheap. So it would have been nice to have had something that would have covered that up. But I think, for the most part, with the engineering that went into making this guy and creating this combiner, I think it worked out pretty well for the most part. So like I say, we're not going to jump into the transformation per se, because this guy's pretty straightforward. You just take the individual figures, you do a couple little twists and turns on each of them. You make 2 arms, you make 2 legs, you make a chest, you make a lower body. What we can do real quick, just to give you an idea, just to separate them out, is this is Scarr. He is the left arm. This is Swoop. He is the right arm. Grimlock is the left leg. I'll just put them there. And Snarl is the right leg. Put him there. And then you have Sludge and Slug. And you gotta unplug a couple things here. So bear with me. Unplug those arms. And then give these a pull. So there you have Sludge in his portion. And there you have Slug in his portion. And of course the head comes off, so that's part of the parts forming as well. So that is it as far as your 6 pieces of Volcanicus. So if you want to put him in various pieces of disarray, feel free to do so. But those are all your chunks right there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this guy back together, and then we're just going to jump right into comparison so you can see how he looks compared to some other figures. So for our first combined mode comparison, we're going to start off with one that is similarly sized. So for those of you who know the Last Night movie, you may recognize this guy right over here. This is that Volcanicus combiner that we saw in that movie. Moving on to our next combined mode comparison. So on the left, of course, is that Volcanicus, and he is a core class. On the right, this is a legend scale. So the third-party legend scale, slightly bigger, but this is the third-party company Magic Square's take on Menasor. This is their Magic Square Overlord. And last, but certainly not least, this is another Menasor. This is the Transformers Legacy Combiner Menasor. Okay, that's going to do it for the combined comparisons. So what I'm going to do now is break this figure down into all of his individual components, or the individual Dinobots, and we're going to do some Dino and Bot mode comparisons there. For our first individual Dino mode comparison, here we see those 6 core class Dinobots hanging out with my original G1 Grimlock, or at least what's left of him. Moving on to our next comparison, I think this one gives you a good idea of that difference between a core class and a legend scale. So obviously those 6 core class Dinobots, and then right there in the middle we have the legend scaled New Age Dinobots, or at least 2 of them. So of course this is New Age's version of Grimlock, Ymir, and their take on Sludge, which is Rhedosaurus. And for our final 2 Dinobot comparisons, I just had to get these guys out because I don't get to play with them often enough. So on the left over here you have that Age of Extinction Grimlock, and on the right over here you have that Age of Extinction Scorn. That's going to do it for the Dino mode comparisons, so I'm going to get these guys transformed into their bot modes and we'll do some comparisons there. For our first robot mode comparison, here we see my G1 Sludge next to those core class Dinobots Snarl, Slug, Scarr, Grimlock, Sludge, and Swoop. Next up is the New Age Freyr. This is their take on a legend scaled Swoop. And for our final bot mode comparison, and this personally is my favorite, just because you get to see the little guys with the big guys. Of course, in that front row, that is that core class series of figures that we're talking about, and they're hanging out with their big brothers. This is the Transformers Studio Series 86 Leader Class Dinobots that we have so far. At the time of this recording, the Leader Class Swoop has not been produced or distributed, so we are missing one there, but it's still really cool to see the 6 little guys with the 4 big guys. And I did what I could here to kind of keep them all together. So you've got your Snarls with your Snarls, your Slugs, Grimlocks, and Sludges with the 2 guys right there in the middle that don't yet have big brothers. Scarr may never have a big brother, but we'll see. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this as much as I did. That's going to do it for the bot mode comparisons, so let's get into those final thoughts. So there we have the Transformers Legacy Evolution Core Class Combiner Volcanicus. And no, this guy's not even close to perfect, but he is good for what he is, which is a core class combiner. So I'm not going to do the traditional review here with the numeric values because this guy is made up of 6 individual figures who really should get rated on their own. But we're just taking a look here at that combiner, so I'm just going to give you a couple of my thoughts here, starting with the overall looks of the figure, the overall aesthetic. Yeah, coming together, he's a big convoluted mess. There's a lot going on here. It's a really busy figure. Personally, I don't think that he comes together as well as he could. Overall, colors match well. The aesthetic is just a big, angry Dinobot combiner. But there are some areas that I feel like could have been improved upon, even in this core class level. Really just with that overall flow, how they all come together. You've got hollow areas all scattered throughout this guy, but you have to consider the fact that he's made up of 6 core class figures who, by the very definition of core class, Hasbro and Takara are going to try to save as much money as possible to bring these to market. So the hollow areas are expected. But I do think that his overall shelf presence is kind of cool. It's fun to have a Volcanicus combiner in the collection, and I think he gets the job done overall as far as that's concerned. Now, regarding his articulation, it's pretty good for a combiner. He's going to be limited in certain areas for sure. One thing I didn't touch on during the articulation section is just this head right up here, which it can turn left and right, and that's about it. You're not going to get any tilt or up or down out of him. It's just a post and peg parts forming situation right there. So he's going to look left, he's going to look right. That's about all you're going to get out of him. Everything else is pretty good. I mean, you get a good range of motion in those arms as far as the shoulders and the elbows go. Nothing in the hands. You do have waist rotation, which is nice. And then getting down to those legs, you do get a pretty decent range of motion in those hips, but nothing at the feet, as evidenced by the fact here that, you know, I can't put those feet level. And admittedly, at this price point, it would be really difficult to try to engineer and design some type of ankle tilt in this figure. So I'm going to have a little bit of forgiveness there. I think the articulation is going to get you where you want to go with this guy because he is really going to be more of a static shelf figure than a play with it every day kind of guy, or at least in my opinion he will be. As far as accessories, there are none. He is the accessory, so you buy these 6 figures, you get a few little trinkets here and there with the figures, and then you can put them together to make this guy. So he is the accessory, so yeah, props for that, I suppose. Overall quality is good. I don't have any issues with this guy. The joints are tight. Actually, for all the figures, the joints are tight. They tab together the way they're supposed to. They came with everything that they were supposed to come with. Paint applications actually look pretty good for a core class figure, so I have no issues with quality here. And then getting to that last one, which is the overall value. So individually, these figures are core class. MSRP for core class is $12 US. Still more than I think that they should be. Definitely more than they were a couple of years ago, but that's where we are. So my opinion of the overall value here is those individual figures are $12 each. You're going to get 6 of them, so you're looking at $72 to make this combiner. That's, you know, it's a little pricey. And I don't know if the value is here just to make this Volcanicus combiner. I don't know if it's here for everybody. Personally, for me, I'm really happy that I was able to get all these figures together and make this combiner. I think he's cool enough. I don't like to think about the fact that he's $72. I think if I would have to buy him in a pack and it was $72, I would think twice about it, but going piecemeal, $12 at a time, it was a little bit easier to swallow. So I think, you know, if you're going to pick this guy up, if you can find all the figures, I think it's easier to do in installments, if you will, at those $12 each, rather than think about, oh man, am I going to really pay $72 for this figure? So with that, that's going to wrap up the review. I'm not going to give a final total here. I'm not going to tell you whether or not you should pick this figure up. So much to say as I'm glad that I did. So this was really more just to bring you some information on this guy to help you understand what you're getting into. If you start picking these core class Dinobots up, this is what you can expect at the end. So hopefully that helps. And as always, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me, send me a message. I'll do what I can to try to respond. But that's going to do it for the review. I hope you guys got some good information out of it. I hope you got some entertainment. And if you haven't already done so, be sure to hit the like button. Be sure to subscribe. Leave a comment if you feel like it. And one last favor to ask, as always, if you know of anyone that may like the channel, may like what we do here, please share this video, share the channel with them. It's always fun to see that community grow. So until we see you guys in the next review, take care.